Yes, brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode of Waterhouse Vibes. And in this episode, we're going to continue our discussion with attorney at law Valerie Nita, Queen's Counsel. And the same team, we're just missing Ishmael. Ishmael will be joining us shortly. He has an emergency he's dealing with.
Okay,
So,
good.
I want to start by saying, Valerie, what a week.
Yes,
What a
yes.
week.
And it's likely to continue.
Well, it seems that way because I'm just looking at some of the news items and I just make a list of some items which I want to touch get your feedback on. And
Yes.
I start this gun campaign, buyback gun campaign, right, on the one hand, and the scandal while they're telling the people to turn in gun for money. Now we find out that over 200 individuals receive gun who shouldn't have received any gun.
That's right.
So that's one level of corruption. I see
Yes.
also your client, you're representing one of the individuals whose name was mentioned,
Yes, Chief Curry
Chief Curry. So
of the
that is,
Maroons. Yes.
yeah, for the Maroons. So that's one issue I see in the news. Another important thing in the news for me is the trial that is going on in the Supreme Court with the gang from Spanish Town. That is a very interesting trial, which I want to hear your vibes on it. There's also, while that trial is going on, the government set up a joint task force, anti-gang task force,
Yes.
involving the police and the soldier. Okay, and finally, Mark Golden poll numbers. Mark Golden poll numbers.
That's right.
I don't know what to say or to make of this, but you're on the ground. You know what's happening. I wonder if you have anything you want to share with us.
Yeah, I'd really love for your Val to paint a picture because that's interesting.
Well, the party is divided. Let's start with the party, and I'll go nationally. Party is divided because, as you know, there were efforts made to undermine the party's success in the last election under the leadership of Peter Phillips. So what is happening is that there's a faction that says you shouldn't have done it, not in an election year, you can't challenge a man, and we should have put our efforts together to win the election because we knew how corrupt the JLP was. So it was not a matter of anybody's personal ambition. It was a matter of what was nationally important. So that has caused the division. And as a result, PNP lost the election. And the person who was orchestrating the resistance of Peter Phillips, Peter Bunting, lost his seat. And so he had to turn to his friend and business partner, Mark Golding, to challenge Peter Phillips for the leadership of the party. Not that that was any big challenge because by then Peter Phillips decided he wasn't going to go forward anymore. One moment.
Patrick, you have to step back. Yeah.
Oh goodness. One moment, Michael, one moment. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
So PNP has found itself in a dilemma because you have one faction of the party not supporting Mark Golding, and then nationally now, he's not somebody that is well known, and nationally people are saying he doesn't have the stature of a leader. So I think that accounts for his poll standings. The question is, who is going to stand up and say, in the interest of the country and the party, Mark should step down and we should select a leader that has a much higher profile and vision for the country and the party. So that's where we are, hanging in the middle.
But Barry,
while Rome burns, the PNP fiddles. That's really where we are. Yes.
I'm sorry, say that again.
While Rome burns, the PNP fiddles.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
What can you say on the background of this guy, Mark Golding?
Well, Mark is, his father was a very prominent doctor. He established the Mona Rehab Center that has done tremendous work for Jamaicans, especially during the period of the polio outbreak.
Yeah, I know the Mona Rehab.
Right. He gave, undeniably, he gave service to Jamaica, although he was a British citizen. Mark was born here, of course, and went to school here. And he's an attorney, but he really is, his specialty is investment. So you remember Daring, Bunting and Golding.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they sold out and formed Proven. So he's an investment lawyer, but he doesn't have the experience of or the knowledge of governance, because to my mind, if you're going to take that position, you have to prepare yourself for it. I mean, I know people like even the Ukrainian prime minister was a comedian, but really, if you're gonna lead a country, you need to be prepared for it. He doesn't have that preparation, and he hasn't been in the party from ground up.
So would you say that the term I'm more familiar with is venture capitalist? Would you say that he's a venture capitalist as well? That's so.
Okay. But most importantly, he has said publicly that he was not interested in the leadership of the party. He wasn't. Okay. And I believe that has caused people not to support him, because they know that originally that's not what he wanted. So people have the view naturally that he really is doing it because of his friend Bunting, who lost his seat. So he has held on to the leadership for him. So that has not put him in a good position.
But what's happening with Bunting now?
Well, Bunting is trying to get his foot in there, but I believe there's a lot against him right now.
Yeah, I heard him in the news this week too. I heard him mentioned in the news this week. I'm trying to remember what it was about.
Oh, he was minister. Yeah, I can tell you. The FLA CEO indicated that he was investigating from 2014 to 2017 licenses that were given. That would have brought Bunting in the middle of everything, because he was then Minister of National Security.
Okay.
So, right. And somewhere along the line, 2016, when the JLP won the election by 1 seat, Meadows became the chairman of the board. So those are the two now who are speaking about responding to what Darling has said about what was happening at the FLA. But there was a very interesting program last night on CVM in which Attorney at Law Hugh Wildman was giving actual examples of Darling's management of the FLA and issues of corruption that were alarming and that were actually factual. Because there's a man whose license was revoked. He had a relationship with a young lady in the United States, and they were supposed to get married, and he changed his mind, and she threatened to have his gun license taken away. And then the next thing is that they had this joint account with Bank of America, and he discovers a check for 3,000 US that was drawn to one of the investigators at FLA.
Wow.
And then, of course, the man's license got revoked.
Wow.
So they're putting the pieces together and saying that this is one of the issues of corruption.
Wow. I think all of this point to the need for reform in Jamaica. We really need reform, because how can you have these important bodies headed by party activists?
Precise.
Dennis Meadow is a party activist.
Yes, he is, and I hear he's going to run a seat for the PNP in Trelawney.
Well, that would be interesting, because he was a staunch JLP activist when I knew Dennis Meadows operating.
Yes.
You know, very staunch.
Well,
JLP
Michael,
activist.
we are not setting any standards. We're not setting any standards. The whole political platform now is in disarray. We're not setting any standards. What are your commitments? When you get rejected by one party, you jump to the other party. Come on. You know, all of that needs to be cleaned up. There needs to be consequences for actions, legal consequences. So if you are involved in corruption, you must go to prison.
So, but who is going to lead that process, that cleanup process?
Well, that is the question. That is the question.
The thing about it is that the international community look at Jamaica as a one of the known corruption cases across the world, one of the well-known corruption cases across the world, right? I mean, we have that stigma where we've been carrying quite some time. You know, we carried for drugs, we carried for government leadership, we carried for just the whole social atmosphere with violence and all of that.
That's right.
And what has come out of that more than anything else is more finger pointing than anything else. We don't really see any concrete move afoot to really address it. And as you clearly say, you know, while they're twiddling their thumbs, you know, Rome is burning. And that's the part that we're really concerned about, because, you know, this is really where, you know, as we put it in our colloquial term, poor people suffer.
Yes.
Poor people continue to suffer, and that is the part that touched my heart. You know, how can this be allowed to just continue? You know?
Well, you know, changes like that can only come from leadership. Whether it is leadership in the police force, leadership in government, because if there are consequences for your action, then that is how you will stamp out corruption. You remember, Singapore did it. They did it. Yeah. But there has to be consequences for your actions. You can't just do these things, and because you are a minister or you are a politician with connections or a person with connections, you can get away with it. What does that say to the ordinary man in the street when he does things not at that scale, But when he commits criminal offenses, he feels he has to get away with it too.
Yeah.
So that is where we are. And the solution is that from two ends, our voters need to wake up. They need to wake up. Our voters need to wake up. And our politicians, our parties need to reject persons who are corrupt or have any little hint of corruption. They must step aside. There must be standards.
I would say I want to make a distinction here, because for the poor people in Jamaica, whenever time they do anything, there's always consequence for them. The rich people from uptown and what have you, there's no consequence. We're not seeing that. I bet you, if we start hauling a lot of the folks from uptown before the court, you know, you're gonna see some changes.
Yeah, but I don't know if you follow the company that was individuals were arrested in relation to money laundering and trading in US, etc., etc. And the matter went before the court, and the indictments against the two individuals was withdrawn, and the company was charged. The company was charged.
And the outcome? What was the outcome?
Well, I don't know if the company, through its directors, have pleaded guilty or not, but as yet, I'm not sure. But the company was charged, and the individuals were, the charges against them were dropped.
But the thing about it is, when you say the company is charged, right? Does that mean that the owners of the company bear some liability?
Well, the liability is in money terms, not in imprisonment, because you can't imprison the company.
Yes, so again, that could be seen as a massive cover-up as well. Because money a lot of times is used to cover up a lot of crimes.
Yeah, people are asking, how can that happen? What is the explanation for that? What is the explanation for that?
And have you heard anything?
And no answers have been forthcoming. The media, as far as I'm concerned, in the United States, you guys are lucky because you have pro-Trump supporters, pro-Trump media, and you have media that I don't want to say they're against Trump, but they are putting out there the information that is available. We don't have that in Jamaica. We don't have that.
Well, while saying that, still the US is not an ideal situation, because it's the same corruption.
Yes,
right? It's just that it get played out at a higher level, right? Because that's basically what we're experiencing now with the aftermath of Trump. You know,
but at least there are some media houses that you can depend on to put the information out there. The raw information. We don't even have that. So you don't even hear these things in the news. You don't hear anybody asking questions. What is happening here? It's like a one-day headline, and then that's the end of it.
Well, that is where social media comes in, really, because social media is what has really brought down big media in the US.
Yeah.
Because it used to be that way in the US, where the media houses across the board used to just cater to the corruption. But with social media really forced a lot of changes with that. Yeah. And that is something we can also use in the Jamaican circumstance to really highlight these things, because even with this medium, that's part of how we build an audience. And as the audience build the word really, gets spread.
But the problem is, The libel law. The libel law is a major problem.
It is a major problem.
In America, journalists have greater freedom than journalists
to ask questions.
To ask questions.
Yes.
And that is probably one thing we need to look at. The whole libel law is something we inherited from Britain.
That's right.
You know, and no, people know the story, you know, but as you move out, you're going to end up, a lawyer is going to say, listen.
But Britain has checks and balances in relation to the issue of defamation, libel. They have checks and balances. We don't have any.
Okay.
So you don't have investigative journalism in Jamaica?
Oh no, that's dead. That's dead.
So
as you say, if there are some podcasts and some social media Zoom conferences and so where you can get some material. But other than that, no, I'm so disappointed in the media. So disappointed. Gone are the days of Monty Perkins, Peter Abrams. I mean, even if you didn't agree with them, at least the information was being put out there.
But I'm hearing Jerry Small. Jerry Small is out there.
Yes, you do hear Jerry. Yeah, you do hear Jerry.
You know, Jerry Small is out there. I think the bigger problem, you know, is, as you say, the party is divided. The organizing is not happening. You know, in the 70s, we had people who were actively organizing, going out into the streets, to the hills and valley, organizing the people, and that is what is lacking just now. You know, nobody is doing any organizing work, and that is the only way we're going to take back Jamaica.
That's right. Well, in the 70s, we had one of the best.
Yeah.
Okay, Duncan.
Yeah.
And nobody has been kind of schooled to carry on that type of work.
Yeah.
And that is what is missing right now, you know.
Yeah.
You have some spots, you know, like in Waterhouse, Chris is doing his stuff, we are doing our stuff and all of that. But there's no movement as such that capture all of this effort. You know, because out in the country here, people still organizing them stuff in the rural parts. But the problem is the fear. People are scared as hell. They're fearful. And you can't blame them. Because
let me ask you this, Barry, and you know, pertaining to your client. I don't know how much you can say, but again, your client was in the news as well a couple of weeks ago. I saw something on him with the Bauxite company trying to move in on the mining and the Maroon lands.
No, give him his money. Yes.
Yeah, with the Bauxite company trying to move in on the mining on the Maroon lands, and of course, you know, he's one of the people, you know, really standing up to them, right? Because they have done it in other areas, and you know, it has proved devastating for the residents there. So what can you say about that?
Well, independent of that, I understand that there was a lecturer at the University of the West Indies that was doing some research in respect of the contents of the bauxite in the Coptic country. And she discovered that the earth metals and uranium there was at a very, very high level that made Jamaica among the best in the world.
Wow.
And she was served an order to discontinue her research.
By who? No,
but this was something known. This is something that has been known for years. Because going back to Manly time, that was something well known, that the quality of our bauxite is the highest in the world.
Yeah, but let you finish what she's saying. I want to hear.
So the question is, I mean, it's not just the bauxite, you know. is the other earth minerals that are very important now to the manufacturing of all of these stuff in the internet and the phone circles.
Yeah.
So the question is, why isn't there any transparency about the contents of what exists there? Because apparently what is in the cockpit country is much better than what is elsewhere.
Oh, okay.
So you have to put that now in the context of the Maroons. And remember, there are Maroon settlements all over Jamaica. I believe the Akompong Maroons are the ones who are in the Coptic country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to tie in the confrontation that is going on now with those pieces of information and ask yourself, what really is happening? What really is Jamaica going to lose its valuable cockpit country? Because as you know, the cockpit country, the flora, the fauna, the water, the whole environmental security of the country, a significant amount of it rests in the cockpit country.
Yeah.
Right. And then on the other side, you have the fact that bauxite ore is a earner for the country. So what do we do in relation to those issues? And the important thing is that the Jamaican people are totally ignorant of what is happening. There's no transparency. There's no transparency about the value of the bauxite in those areas. There's no transparency about the contractual relationship between the government and the various foreign entities that come here to mine bauxite. We don't know anything. Nothing.
Okay.
So we can't make any, people can't make any decisions. They can't take a side because there's a complete information blackout.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if you can speak to this any at all. But one of the things that came out was that one of the main companies doing the mining are seeking to expand their mining interests there. Is a company that's joint owned between Jamaica and I think a US company.
Yes.
Right? And on the Jamaican side, you know, there's some interest on the part of the Prime Minister in the company. I don't know if you can speak to that, or if you can speak to the position of the Maroons and
I know that there's a company with an American interest, and I think the government probably owns majority shares, 51%.
Yeah.
And the question is, are they going to be allowed to mine in the cockpit country? That's the question.
On that note, can we pause? All right, continue.
That is the question. So that's why I said there's an information blackout, because we don't know whether the company wants to expand and where they want to expand to, and we don't know the government's position. We haven't had it stated. What we do know is that the Maroons have said that under the treaty, under the declarations, that the cockpit country land is designated Maroon territory.
Let me ask you.
It's not an issue of them saying we are a state within a state. That's not the issue. The word sovereignty might have been used, but it can be interpreted many ways. That's not what they're saying. They are saying we need for the government to sit down with us and say what they are saying is the border, so we can know what they are saying and they can know what our position is.
Okay, so then what I'm taking away from what you just said is that they are yet to really meet with the Maroons and really discuss the matter fully.
Well, they have strategically met with the Maroons in the other Maroon settlements, but they have not met with the Maroons in the Coptic country.
Mm-hmm.
And those other Maroons do not have bauxite land. Portland don't have no bauxite land.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Don't we have a Freedom of Information Act where we could...
Yes. So we are in the process of going to the courts to see what information we can get, because I know it's a court process. You can go through the courts and the courts give an order.
And how is that going?
Well, we are heading there, and we are heading to the courts with some other issues too. So not to give out too much information now. Right. So we will see where that goes.
Because that's the issue, you know. We have laws on the books that we can use to access certain information.
Yes, if there is.
You know, the question is, are we going to use those laws? Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that the Maroons will use what is available.
Yes.
To have their voice heard and to protect the Coptic country.
Yeah, it's like they just want to just sell Jamaica out, the resource, just like that, and then they just
it's big money. It's big money.
Big money.
But the thing that really bothered me is that we have been here before, because I remember on the Manly and the Bauxite levy, and everybody pack up and leave. 3% Bauxite levy.
Yes.
And they pack up and leave, right? And the industry shut down, right? Now it opened up again, and they're back. New players, but they're back, right? I mean, we can't go through the same thing again.
Well, no aluminium is manufactured here anymore.
I know that.
Yes, it's just taking of the ore, and they do whatsoever they want.
The whole processing is done outside of Jamaica.
Yes, that's right. So it doesn't give us any product to export.
Right.
And it doesn't give us much employment.
Yeah, because back then they were producing the alumina, and then after that stage, then they export everything, and the rest of it is produced overseas. And when we buy it back, we have to buy it back as a finished product.
Precisely.
We're not benefiting from it at all.
No, and our soil is being depleted of the nutrients that we need to grow.
Exactly.
The problem, I think, is this. We lack a leader with vision. Where there is no vision, the people perish. And that is what is happening right now. Michael Manley came with a vision and was able to mobilize the country. We haven't seen anyone with any vision. And not just that, but Michael Manley had a set of organizers around him from out of the union, man like Upton Caven, those guys, you know, Tony Sparling and all that.
Yeah.
But
Michael was able to mobilize those people from all over Jamaica, from the farmer, the working class, the middle class, the intellectuals. Those people who were committed to Jamaicans, who were the patriots.
Who
wanted to see our country move forward.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are any of them left in Jamaica now. Really?
Well, that whole vanguard must have passed, because they were senior to me, so I know that they're probably long past now.
Yeah. But people are still doing organizing work. I think the problem is the vision, the absence of a vision, a leader with vision that can move the country forward. You know?
Yes.
And that's
Michael, the work. There's no doubt people organizing, you know, but guess what? I've been out there on the ground, and I can tell you that it is very hard. I know we all spoke about uplifting our communities, joining hands to uplifting our communities, because we can't wait on it to come from the top. So we have to start at the bottom and work up. And let me tell you something, it's very hard, it's very difficult. And it could be easier if it came from the top.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look as if it's going to come from the top.
But it don't work. It don't work from the top, Valerie, and that's the unfortunate thing. It don't work that way.
Well, Michael made it work from the top. It was easier. It was easier working from the top down, because there were policies, there was legislation that made it a little easier. So the struggles that we those people who are organizing are going through now. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult, I can tell you that.
It's difficult, but don't forget, Michael Manley came out of the union movement.
Yes.
Came out of the union movement, and with him came a bunch of organizers. So, you know,
but even the union, what is the union doing? Which prominent organizer in the union? No. Either side, PNP or JLP, NWU or even UWI, UAW. Which prominent?
Lambert Brown.
Lambert is probably the only one. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the difficulty that we are experiencing in Jamaica is not unique. You know, throughout the world there's a decline in civic participation, because politics is for the Jamaican people, politics is less than a third of their lives.
Yes.
You know, they have bigger things they want to find out with all this COVID, how they're gonna survive and what have you, and with the cost of living, you know. And now you have in the news whether or not the government should provide minimum wage or leave it to the market, as Ian is suggesting. You know, so it's a whole part of thing people are dealing right now. You know, which bring me back to the People's National Party. I really think the party needs to reorganize itself. It really needs to go through that, because after after Portia Simpson lost an election some time ago, Brian Meeks and others chaired an integrity commission that they look at the internal structure of the party. You remember that, Brian?
Yes, so Valerie, you were explaining.
Yeah, when we were interrupted, we were talking about transparency in government and what that sort of stuff. And my question to Valerie at that point was, we have the Freedom of Information Act. You know, why don't we use that more often? It's coming in now. Yeah.
Yes, we don't use it often enough, but it's available. Sometimes you can't get information, you have to go to court to get it, but it's available. It's available.
Because, you know, with the Bauxite thing, we must can access that information. Welcome, Ishmael.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Ishmael. How are you?
Hi, I am not bad. Thanks for giving us the time of this late in the evening.
Oh, I don't have anything else to do with my time. And besides, I like the program, so I make myself available.
To bring you up to speed, we've been talking about some developments in Jamaica in past week. You know, some things in the news, like what's happening with the firearm license authority. We've been talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
We also touch on what's happening with the Maroon community, the land I know they want to control that for the bauxite industry people them. And we are now talking about transparency in terms of the government record, because Valerie said to us that nobody knows what's happening when it comes to that land and the decision to lease it out for bauxite mining. You know, so that's where we are right now. Patrick?
Yeah. Valerie, you had mentioned about yeah, the whole situation with the well, you said that the information is available. It's just that sometimes it have to go through the judicial process.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but my thing is that the bigger concern really right now, but it looked like the fundamental concern right now is the corruption. Because
Definitely.
that seemed to be what's affecting the PNP, what's affecting the whole country as a whole.
Yes, and the crime.
And the crime.
And the two of them go together.
Yes. Yes. Now, if you can speak a little more on that, on the crime situation, because that one is really the big sore point. That is the one which affect my people more than anything else. You know?
Well, Patrick, the main thing is that the government does not have a program. They don't have a plan how to tackle crime. They keep using the SOE, and the SOE, while it will suppress or contain crime in particular areas, it's not a solution to the problem. There has, as we were saying last time we spoke, communities like Waterhouse, it needs development, it needs improvement. You have to tackle crime from two ends. You have to, well, it's the police's job to deal with the gangs, but we have to stop the youth from being recruited to the gangs. And to do that, there's a need for social programs. Communities need to be upgraded. I was talking today and I was, just saying, people don't understand that just to put a coat of paint on a house and put up a concrete wall and a nice gate is so uplifting to people. The government has we don't hear of any plan. We just keep going around in a circle, and they keep saying that, well, the opposition needs to make suggestions. But I believe that suggestions were made by KD Knight, that the government meets with some of the past commissioners of police and ministers of national security who have the experience and can probably, together, they can come up with a program. But it doesn't appear as if the government is interested in having a consensus or in getting help. Because, I mean, it's what Katie is saying or has said is 1, 2, 3. I mean, you don't need to be a professor to understand that if you need help, then you ask for help, and everybody comes together and we try and tackle the crime. So we are at a standstill.
No, here's one of my thoughts, and I guess you can tell me what you think about this. I fully agree with you that the key to the whole thing is really the upgrading of the community, right? Because a big part of it is that, of course, the division come in the community for several reasons, right? For one, there's a lack of amenities in the community, right? And when I say amenities, I'm thinking about even just the economic life of the community. A community consists of more than just houses, right? It consists of, all the structures which really help us to live a normal life, a normal and healthy, peaceful life, right? So I'm thinking about things like, for example, you know, shopping, retail shopping and all of that. Sometimes, like with the Waterhouse community, for example, a lot of the things which we knew growing up don't exist anymore, right? You used to have bakeries around. You used to have a lot of retail stores, right? Now, of course, in these modern days, people think more in terms of like supermarket for food and all of that. You don't have to travel these long distance in order to get food, right? And then, you know, you have other amenities to the community like, you know, business offices located in the community, right? So everybody do have to go into Kingston in order to access building. And it also provides jobs. So right there in the community, you can have an economic life going where, you know, jobs are being provided. There are amenities for people to enjoy life. And then, particularly where the youths are concerned, you have programs in place, right, to really address the needs of the youth. Because that's the other thing too. With no social programs for the youth, then of course it leaves them open to violence.
Recruited, yes.
You know, and this is something that's going to disappear a long time.
Yes, even in terms of police stations. I mean, Hunts Bay serves a very wide area. So you never ever really have a police presence in communities. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a kind of mobile police outposts in the various communities.
Yeah.
I am sure it will assist in having the police more on the ground, knowing what is happening nearer in the communities in case anything happens, and that can't cost us much.
But it seems that we are relying on the very forces who are corrupt, because one of the problems the police has, you know, is trust. People don't trust the police no more. So my advice or my preference would be for a national mobilization of the people. Why don't they seek to mobilize the people? That was one of the things with Michael Manley administration. People were mobilized around specific programs. This government is not doing that. They want to pump money, social program and what have you. But a lot of these programs that they launched, there's no sustainability to them. None. They started 1 year and next year, government change, it stopped. Something else.
Well, Michael, that's like everything, almost everything in Jamaica. If I ever tell you the amount of money spent from USAID and from the Canadian government in the courts to put in speakers, real-time recording of matters in court, so that at the end of the day you can have a copy of whatever happened in court to come back the next day. All of those things, money was spent on them. Big screens for video evidence for people who don't want to come into court, and they are not maintained. So in a little while you go back to square one. I mean, it's a Jamaican thing. You put up a grand building and you don't maintain it, and in 5 or 10 years it looks crappy. The windows are fall out, the roof have hole. We just don't maintain anything. Do you remember National Heroes Circle?
Yeah.
And how beautiful it was in Siaga's time?
Yes.
I have to give him that. With the what they call those plants, the there's a name for them. Very tough, hardy, beautiful flowers. And what we have out there now? You want me to go and video it one day and show you? Some big rock stone in the bed them. No flowers, no design, nothing. All these things make a difference.
Yeah, it does. It does, you know. It does.
It's all about caring for the environment. Care for the environment, the
course.
environment care for you. I mean, like you said, these are some of the things where a lot of people take for granted, that the environment don't matter, but it does, right? Because we have to have green surrounding and all that. All of these things contribute to health.
Of course. Well, I mean, you would know, but if you say Hellshire Beach now, a beach that all the people in Kingston, used to take pleasure in going to on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. There is no beach.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah, man, the water is right up to the buildings because the reefs are being destroyed, because the water is not clean. The water of the harbor is dirty, filthy dirty. The gullies, everything is washing down from the gullies into the harbor. And you can't go to Hellshire now.
While the Prime Minister is building a mansion on the hill.
Yes, you can't go to Hellshire. And remember now, tourism is one of our biggest products. One of our biggest earners for the GDP. And that's how we treat it.
So,
yeah.
Is there any hope?
I remember some years ago they talked about beach erosion, right? I mean, it's something we saw coming.
Yes. I understand there are some hotels that are importing sand from the Bahamas.
Whoa.
That's a recent thing. Because
Really?
the beach. Yes.
Importing sand.
Yes, buying sand in Bahamas and bringing it over here.
Wow. And what the government say about that?
Well, I happen to know because I know somebody who sat in a meeting when it was discussed, but the general populace don't know that. The government not telling them anything about that. That's a secret.
Whoa.
So that's why we started talking about transparency and knowing what is happening in our country. So we at least can do something about it in our own little ways.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
I mean, the JLP did a very good thing when they banned the plastic bags.
Yeah.
But I am here to tell you that there are private sector business people who are still bringing them in.
And
So
nobody is fined, nobody is penalized.
They import the plastic bags?
Yeah.
How they make them here?
No, they don't make them here. They bring them in here. They don't make them here.
What?
Yes. So in most supermarkets, you will have the paper bags or the cloth bags. But if you go downtown, you still see the black scandal bags. People are still bringing them in. People are still using them.
Wow.
But the thing about it is that plastic is not so. We never used to import plastic bags. Plastic bags used to be made in Jamaica. Because plastic.
I don't think so, Patrick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because plastic is a byproduct of petroleum, right? And that was one of the products. The plastic bottles used to be made in Jamaica, right? And in fact, at one stage they were importing the raw material for the plastic, right? And that's when a lot of people started to I think it was the man, the government who introduced the whole thing of recycling, and that cut back on the amount of they had to import for raw material because they started to recycle some of the plastic. So, I think the name of the company was used to be down in the Marcus Garvey Drive area or somewhere like that. Plastic Products, I think that the name was.
Well, maybe they're still making the bags because I see the bags are plenty downtown.
Or thermoplastic. Thermoplastic.
No, thermoplastics used to be out in Twickenham Park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But there was the one I'm thinking about is the one who do the bottles.
Okay.
Like them do all the bottle, like the oil bottle and any plastic bottle, you know it. Because them used to export across the Caribbean too.
Yeah, well, maybe they're still making the bags because downtown, business people.
Yeah, but thermoplastics was another one. Because there was another big processor of plastic products.
Well, given all of that, let me ask you this then. What do you see as the chances for the PNP to regain power?
As Ishmael.
Well, he's not here.
Oh, he left?
Yeah, he left.
It's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a tough fight because the people don't see Mark Golding as a viable alternative.
What can he do?
What can he do?
Yeah.
I think it's not for him. It's not for him. It's just not for Mark. I think he should step aside. And we should find somebody else.
So are there any other viable people in the PNP right now worth considering?
Well, the persons who remain are Paul Well and Lisa Hanna. Damian Crawford is there, but I don't think Damian is ready for that yet. I can't think of anybody else up front, but I mean, you have Natalie Nita Headley. She's a good candidate, but I don't know if Natalie is interested. She has never lost her seat. People like Katie have now retired, so you don't have those people again. So, but you know, I believe somebody will emerge. Might emerge as quickly as we would like.
Well, I guess Ishmael can probably shed some light on this because we need the voice of the young to say something here. Right? We're really talking about what's going on in the PNP right now and the whole, leadership crisis. And what is the view of your generation? You're still muted. Ishmael.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, my phone decided to give some issues. Right. So if we're talking about leadership in the PNP, we have a leader that is Mark Golding now. So it's not that we have a leader. It's just that do we have a leader that we consider to be a leader? Right. So there's always been an issue is in relation to do we have faith in our leaders, and that has been an issue. I mean, Valerie can tell you, this has been an issue since we lost the election with Portia Simpson Miller. It has always been an issue. Can we have a proper leader? And you always have this in political parties because people think as if they are the ones that with a chip on their shoulder, for lack of a better phrase. So it's not that, I mean, all political parties will face issues, but as we speak now, the issue is not that we don't have a leader, but do we consider him a leader? And I'm telling you right now that there are members of the PNP that are not in full support of the current leader and weren't in full support of the leader before him. So this segregation in your own household cannot be good for you outside. So I don't think it's that it's never that we we don't have leaders, because if anything, PNP, the People's National Party, and their affiliate groups are saturated heavily with leaders in their own rights. But no, it's more about power than of leading in or trusting somebody to represent the whole party.
Yeah, but we right now the PNP is viewed as a capitalist party. So we have two capitalist parties. So you can choose JLP or PNP. We have abandoned democratic socialism. We have.
I wouldn't necessarily say, well.
We have.
I mean, that has to do with policies. That has to do with the policies we've supported over the years. If you say to me that we have not done any policies on a large scale that has benefited the people of Jamaica in post Norman Manley, I can say, well, I tend to agree with you, but I cannot say that we have definitively abandoned democratic socialism. As young as I am, I'm sorry.
Ishmael.
I don't know much, but
your leader,
right?
Your leader.
Ishmael, let me ask you. Let me ask you more.
On a video and said he was not in support of democratic socialism. Has he changed his position? And if he has done so, then he needs to go out and preach and put forward policies that will reflect that vision. We're in a serious problem. Ishmael, we're in a serious problem in the PNP.
That's the question I want to ask you, Ishmael. Do you believe that there's a problem right now in the PNP?
Of course, there is a problem in the People's
What is the problem you see?
There will
right
always
now?
be a problem in the People's National.
No, what is the problem you see right now in the PNP?
All right. So the problem now, as Valerie would say, is that
No. I want to know, from your standpoint, what you think is a problem?
Right. So, yes. So it is my belief that even the members don't know what the People's National Party stand for anymore.
There you go.
That's exactly what Valerie said.
Very true.
That there's really no policy direction right now, right? But I thought you were saying something different.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is because I'm a man of principle. So if it is that we decided to allow Valerie to lead us Waterhouse vibes, Valerie will lead us in Waterhouse vibes because it was a unanimous decision. We may not agree, but elected to be.
No, I don't.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying, but you won't necessarily hear that because you know is that there has always been some sort of bad blood in the party, and as I mean, it's petty. So you'll hear. I didn't support Patrick McCarthy in the last internal election, and so I don't expect Patrick McCarthy to support me. So because of that, you take a particular stance, and I do the same. But I fail to see how does that benefit us as a party and ultimately as a nation.
All right, Ishmael.
Because if it is that,
Ishmael.
Go ahead.
Historically, we have not all supported everybody. And we have been through eras. So, I mean, I know what you're saying. You're saying if a leader is elected, then we should support that leader. What is happening now is how the leader came to power. So if you have people who live by principle, integrity, honesty, loyalty, and all of those principles are breached, you can't get unity, and you can't tell anybody that they should jettison those principles and support anyway for the sake of the party, because the party is made up of the people in it. Party is made up of the people in it. So I said long ago when all of this nonsense started, I just think it was bad judgment on the part of Bunting and Golding. I think it's bad judgment because had they thrown their weight behind Peter Phillips, visibly and genuinely, and he lost, they would have had a clean platform to go forward on, because there is no way that Peter Phillips would run back again if he lost the election. But they chose to challenge him at a time when it was very disruptive. And it's a pity because a lot of people, especially the older comrades like me, look for a leader that has good judgment. So when you start to tick off the principles that, the things you want to see in a leader, you're crossing them off one by one. And that is the problem. I believe, and it was suggested long ago, that if the leadership takes responsibility for what they did and accept publicly that they erred, or among the members, whatever, just like how Mandela had truth and reconciliation. If you would be surprised, some of the older comrades just want them to admit we did these things and we shouldn't have. But I don't think it's gonna happen, Ishmael. It's not gonna happen.
But that sounds like an excellent idea you mentioned, Valerie, because it's funny you mentioned truth and reconciliation. Maybe that's what the PNP need within the PNP right now. A truth and reconciliation
that is what they need.
Program.
Yes.
I mean, so they now have a commission called the help me out, Valerie. Some commission that helps people to sort out their grosses with each other within the party. What do they call it? Pat.
I don't know about it, Ishmael. I know there's a disciplinary committee, but I don't know.
No, not a disciplinary committee. They don't call it that. No, they don't call it that.
Ishmael, you're muted. I will lose your picture.
All right. I don't know. Maybe there is, or maybe there isn't. I don't know.
Let me say this.
Hello?
I was...
Ishmael is back. Yes.
Ishmael?
Your internet giving you a problem.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Muted again.
Okay, let me say this. I was an active member of the Workers' Party of Jamaica. I was a full-time organizer with the Workers' Party of Jamaica. And at a certain point, certain elements in the Workers' Party start demanding change, restructuring of the party and all of that. The leadership, well, merely one individual, Trevor Monroe, disagree with that. the end result is that the Workers' Party just dissolved into individuals now. My worry is that the longer the People's National Party take to resolve its internal problem, it's the more Jamaican people are going to move away from the People's National Party. Okay? Because I have seen something.
I agree.
I have seen some things on Facebook from Vanessa Phillips and others, and it's just outright nastiness. Outright nastiness. And I wonder whether or not there is an internal process within the PNP that allow itself to resolve these conflicts internally, because it seems like that is what is missing. Nobody is following the organs or using the internal organ of the party to resolve their problem. It doesn't seem like that to me. So my question is, should we be thinking of another party? Should the Jamaican people be thinking of another party? Because it doesn't seem like the PNP or the JLP can resolve the problem that the Jamaican people face. They're not organized, to address our problem.
Well, Michael, all things are possible, So, I mean, if leadership comes forward that is recognized as capable, and they form another party, who is to say if they won't be successful?
I can tell you that in the diaspora, there's huge support for Lisa Anna to lead the People's National Party. A lot of folks are pushing for her to become the leader of the party, and that I'm not sure about, because
she's popular nationally.
Yeah, and she's very vocal too. So that will make people gravitate towards her. I don't know about her political position, what she's like, but
see,
I mean,
internationally, you'll see people supporting her because she's an international star. I mean, she was foreign affairs minister. She was Miss Jamaica World at one point, and she has always represented the country well, diplomatically, and people in the diaspora have huge hold her in high regard.
Well, let me tell you.
So that says a lot.
Let me tell you this.
That says a lot.
This may surprise you.
It doesn't mean
the People's National Party, they don't gravitate to women. They don't. Portia had a hard time.
That's true. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
And when you make a comparison, we have less female candidates than the JLP. I got a hard time as a candidate, but merely because I was a woman. If I were a man, it would have been different.
That's absolutely true.
I understand how they may wish to view Lisa. I don't know what the solution to it is. She has acquitted herself very well in the ministries that she has had. I mean, she has had problems in her constituency, but that is not a constituency that we can say has never had problems. Remember, Alun Asamba was there, a very accomplished lawyer, a hard worker, and she had problems. In fact, she had war in that constituency, similar to what Lisa is having, and it was Lisa who replaced her. So I don't know, but we tend to be a chauvinistic party. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, Valerie, on that, because that a lot of times is the elephant in the room, because it's the taboo subject.
It is.
Right? Because what happened is that, and I mean, we see it all around, right? It really is no secret, right? You just got to open your eyes and you'll see, right?
Oh, yes.
Portia did get a fight.
She did.
Right? And I mean, the thing about it is, to Michael's point, my whole thing is that it shouldn't require us farming something else in order to move ahead. All we gotta do is look at ourselves. We just gotta look at ourselves, because we can't run away from looking at ourselves. That's really where we have to look at ourselves.
An honest look. Patrick.
Honest look.
An honest look.
Honest
That's
look.
the problem we have.
Right? Because otherwise you're going to farm something else where you encounter the same problems.
Precisely. No, let me tell you something now. Just take a look at the secretariat. Okay?
Mhm.
I mean, the most important role is General Secretary, Deputy General Secretary, Party Whip. I mean, it's in
That's
shambles.
a low blow, Valerie. That's a low blow.
No, it's in, listen. Let me tell you, if you want somebody to address a jury, send for me. Send for me. If you want somebody to go and argue before the Constitutional Court or the Court of Appeal, call Jackie Samuels Brown. And we know it. We know our capabilities. We know what we are good at. We can't be good at everything. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You have to recognize what you're good at. And you have to recognize what the other person is good at and give them the leeway to do that.
Right.
General Secretary and deputies are mobilizers of the party. That is most important. And we're not getting a grip on it. We're not getting a grip on it. Because the General Secretary has no experience.
His competitor was Raymond Price. So,
well, neither of them had the experience. Neither of them had the experience. But that's our fault because we have not groomed anybody. Everybody who is going into the party wants to go enter the party at the highest level. Michael Manley once told me, right? He once told me, no, you're young, you're talented, go in at the bottom and learn the thing. Learn the thing, learn how government work.
That's how Portia work, right? That's how Portia developed.
Precisely.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about
I mean, you do have some of us, you do have some of us, and I can say you do have some of us that we are on the ground every day, same way. I mean, I literally started from a group, and now I am the chairman of a group. And then I was recommended because my love chat, that it is what it is. My love chat, and I'm vocal to be a part of the divisional committee, and then I became divisional executive, and then I became a part of the constituency.
Yes, and young Ishmael, you are being recognized in the constituency among the people who know you and who work with you. But will you ever get above that? Will you ever be supported to find your place up further so your talent you can demonstrate your talent? I don't think so. Not in the present PNP.
Behind you?
Not in the present PNP. Not in the present PNP.
Maybe it's how we're looking at it, because it's service above self. Well, let me say, I think it should be service above self first. So my intention is to ensure that the PNP gains sovereign power. Now, I know that a lot of us in that effort will fall by the wayside. It has happened before and it will happen again. And then you're going to have some bad face.
Well,
it is what it is.
Let me say this. You couldn't have a more experienced person than Paul Burke. Paul Burke was the General Secretary of the PNP, but he didn't have an impact. How you explain that?
I don't think he wanted to have an impact.
What became of him, by the way?
He's still around. Ishmael?
Listen.
Yeah, man. Paul Burke is still around. He may not be.
Paul is still around. The 2016 election needs to be analyzed. In 2016, 11 MPs lost their seat. 11. Yet still, Portia only lost by 1 seat because she gained other seats that she did not have before. Now you have to ask yourself why. In this election gone by, those same 11 lost and more were added to it. You have to ask yourself the question. There are some truths that need to be told. There was a lot of division in 2016 in constituencies between MPs and councillors. A lot of division.
Not just that, but between MPs and cluster managers.
Yes, so people weren't pulling together. Now you have to ask yourself, why didn't the general secretary, and these things existed before election. You have to ask yourself, why didn't the then general secretary, Paul Burke, deal with those issues and get them out of the way, mend the fences, etc. before election?
Right.
That was one of the reasons why we lost.
Right. I agree.
And even though Paul was well known,
that fester
was Paul a good general
some sort
secretary?
of vengeance.
Was he?
I don't think so. That's my personal view. And Paul is my friend, but I don't think so.
Let me ask you this, Valerie. What would you say about the PNP structure over the years? Would you say that it has deteriorated to the point where that has had a big impact on the election results in terms of the whole running of the party, all of that?
Yes.
Because
the PNP has always prided itself on the intellectual capacity of its members. And that don't mean you have to come from university. You have to be in university, right?
Yes.
The man on the street could argue with you in an intelligent, impactful way. So
yeah, man, and they do it all the time. So,
and what has happened is that the group structure
has
deteriorated
miserably
because the member of parliament took control of the groups and the delegates, and they would change. You see, we need to be honest. If I'm a delegate and you don't like me, you take me out and put in Ishmael, because Ishmael will do what you want to do. And it was not the decision of the groups. And so the group stopped operating. The group stopped having an impact. The group stopped debating, and that's how the party was functioned. So the people at the bottom are able to tell you at the top what is happening down there, so it can be fixed. All of that broke down.
Yeah.
No delegates are being bought.
that is true.
For election, and it is a fact, and we're not facing it.
So there lies the problem.
We're pretending like it doesn't happen.
I mean, and they don't mind, they'll tell you, they'll ask you point blank how much you're buying my vote for.
Yeah.
They'll ask you point blank.
Am
I lying, Valerie?
No, it's true.
Well, I mean, it's a part of I think Unity Committee, that's the name of it. I'm happy I remembered it. So there are a group of people.
Ishmael, we're not seeing your face, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I'm.
So until we hear back from Ishmael, what you're saying, Valerie, really point to corruption. The corruption in the wider society also impact the political parties.
Of course.
That's basically what's happening there, you know. And
Of course.
it raises a question, you know, in terms
Yeah.
of whether the present leadership, the political directorate, both the PNP and the JLP, do they have any answer to the problems that Jamaican people face?
Well, I think there's a discussion going on about doing away with the delegates and letting every member of the party have a vote. That has to be
I'm
careful.
on the road. I'm doing some business for tomorrow. Have a
Yeah, go ahead.
That's something that has to be carefully thought out, because just imagine, I hope I'm not giving anybody ideas, but it goes through my head every time I think about it. If the JLP wants to infiltrate the PNP, then they'll get some people join and every member have a vote.
As simple as that.
As simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, it's wide open for anybody to do anything.
Yes. The purpose of the group is that the people in communities who live there can feed back to the party the problems they're having, the successes they're having when they do things, the problems they're having, so that the people can be served. It's all about serving people. So you can't sit up at Jamaica House and ask what is happening in gutters, because you don't. It comes from the people. That's why it's called people power.
Well, it go right back to what you said earlier on. I mean, you talk about the whole thing of leadership from the bottom up and not from the top down, right? And you talk about truth and reconciliation. Those two things, if those two things are addressed, right, is a whole different ballgame.
Of course, it has to happen, Patrick.
Yeah.
It has to happen, because there are people with serious grouses. Serious grouses. It has to happen. I mean, when you form a movement within a movement, so you have a group of people called the Risers. They're wearing blue shirts with orange stuff on it. Come on, that is so wrong. That's so divisive in itself. So all these things have to be ironed out, and until they do it, we'll be going backward and forward for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Even the YO, the YO was always the recruiting body of the party. That's where the young people go and they learn service and they grow into leaders. What's happening with the YO now? What's happening with the YO?
A lot. People
what is happening with the Patriots? Is the Patriots feeding any candidates to the party? What's happening there?
I see the party leader trying to do something in terms of a youth shadow cabinet. They're very, very, very silent, but nevertheless, that
inside.
He's trying.
Who is that?
The current leader doing something with it.
Who is the current leader, by the way, Ishmael?
Mark Golding.
No. YO leader.
Oh, we don't have a president right now.
You see what I mean? Ishmael, that shouldn't happen, man.
We don't have a president because of again bad decisions by the former by party leaders, and I don't think this is why I personally believe that separation of power is very important. When you can have a leader dipping his hand personally into the business of the YO, I think that spells trouble.
Definitely.
Spells trouble, and that is what happened with the former president. And while she was her intentions maybe pure, how she got there it wasn't pure because she wasn't elected.
Okay.
Can you outline, tell me what you're pointing to, because I'm not aware of what, in terms of the YO. What are you?
All right, so it is largely it is large and have been largely known that the youth organization of the party is the conscience of the People's National Party. So you'll see sometimes a member of the YO make a comment about a member of the mother party, and it may not be met with applaud, but we have the ability to do that because we're the conscience of the party, as I said before. Now, there was an election, and the person wasn't ratified. When I said ratified, I mean he or she they weren't a member of a group back then, right? And as such, that person served only 3 months and was removed. And the party leader decided upon, I'm not sure if he decided upon himself or he got advice, but he selected somebody that wasn't even in the party to be the leader of the YO, and that was met with a lot of.
You said somebody who wasn't in the party?
You're talking about Peter Phillips and Miss Tomlinson.
Right.
Okay.
But why did the YO allow that to happen? That should not have happened.
I don't know, and I must say, the Gensec is a very knowledgeable man, so I'm not sure why that happened. But the
person was not in the party?
At the time, no, she wasn't a member of the YO. She was not a member of the YO, and we're not sure if she was even a member of the party. We still aren't sure if she was a member of a group at the time when she became president of the YO. We aren't sure.
That should never have happened.
You see, what all of this point to, is a modernization of the People's National Party. The party needs to modernize itself, because on the surface, what you see happening is that you have the left of the party expecting Golden to function a certain way. On the right, you have Golden and Bunting and what have you. They expect the party to function a certain way. And the modernization process, because after Pusha lost that election, I know Brian Meeks developed a document. He chaired a committee that looked at the People's National Party and why they lost the election. And I'm not sure where that document went. One thing about these political parties, they do a lot of studies and then they put them on the shelf.
Definitely.
They put yes. So what the Jamaican people need now, because it's all well and good to talk about truth and reconciliation, but I know when we start that, the first question for me when that start is, which of the two parties will first denounce their paramilitary organization? Because that is a problem nobody wants to touch. Nobody wants to touch the paramilitary aspect of the Jamaican politics. And both the PNP, and I said it's the PNP, the GLP, and the WPG all contributed to this. The militarization of working people life in the country. Nobody wants to touch that. And I understand why they don't want, because a lot of them are implicated in those activities. Right? But at this point, what we need right now, we need a process in Jamaica that's going to open up a national debate as to where we're going as a people, as a country. We need that debate.
Yes.
Again, you mentioned that truth and reconciliation might be one thing, but I don't think you're looking at the real impact of something like that, because what that means really is hatching out all the problems, right? Because what happens is, if you talk about militarization, it goes beyond parties in Jamaica, right? Militarization in Jamaica is not just the political parties, it is also the police, right? The military. I mean, it's the country as a whole right now. I mean, it's a gun culture, right? When we don't even produce guns, right?
How many, Patrick?
Right?
How many security companies we have in Jamaica?
Exactly.
You ever try count them?
Oh my goodness, ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Right? Multi-millionaire security companies, right? Everybody turn millionaire. Just people come down to Jamaica as advisor, as security advisor, and become security company CEO.
Mark Shield is one.
Right?
Mark Shield is one.
You know,
he formed his own company.
Yeah.
Form his own company, yeah?
Yeah.
But Ismail,
turn on your mic, Ismail. Turn on your mic.
Oh, nobody is ready to talk about the fact that there is an underground economic there's a black market for gun and crime in Jamaica. Nobody wants to talk about that.
That's
because
right.
me can't buy one gun. My salary can't buy a gun. Right? So imagine they look at you, them now work where have gun. How do they get it? But they pay for it though. It is paid for.
They rent it, Ishmael. They rent it.
Well, the thing about
exactly.
it is, if you
I saw on social media the other day, gun for hire and contract killers for hire. I saw that. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that there is a booming business now happening in Jamaica for crime. You can pay a man literally maybe 100,000 to kill somebody.
Yeah, and that is happening because the people have no opportunity and the people have no other outlet to earn a living. So you have scamming and you have, as you say, gun for hire crimes.
Right. I mean, and the sad part is, these things are glorified as if they're proper careers.
Yes. But there are careers. There are careers for some people.
But this is nothing new.
Yeah, it's nothing new.
It is nothing new. I know quite a few individuals who I won't go there, but it's nothing new. This is nothing new, you know. I'm talking about the 70s. It's just that the thing become more popular because of the media and what have you. But in the 70s, you had guys who you could get them to carry out works. And they did carry out works. Whether on the behalf of politicians or what have you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's nothing new. Right? The only problem is that with the technology and all, it more magnify what is happening in the society. You understand?
I think it's more prevalent to Michael.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. People are actually earning a living out of it. I mean,
what it really says is that the black market is more organized than the legitimate market. That's really what it is saying.
Yeah.
Organized crime is more thriving than, you know, a legitimate society, which is what we really should be having, right? Yeah, that is really what it is.
Right. But the question now is, what can we as a people, because we can't wait for the politicians, Michael and Patrick. We can't wait.
No.
What can we do?
Well, I think
start the ball rolling.
Well, I think one of the first thing we want to do is look at the police force. We need to reform there, because a lot of these killings, a lot of these gun killings and what have you, you have policemen. The other day they detained 2 policemen who was about to carry out a contract killing. You know, it's a known fact that police are involved in some of these activities. Okay,
yeah,
so
but we can reform them, you know. Government that's government. So how do we get these things done? How do we?
It has
Point to note. That's why it is. You see, sometimes it's so important that you understand the role government and the government of the day play. Did you know that before the pandemic hit, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, if you wanted to be recruited, you would have to spend 9 months in training school, right? Before 2020, before the pandemic hit Jamaica. And if you were a correctional officer, you had to spend 8 months. 8 months. And if you are a soldier, you had to spend 9 months. Now, for a correctional officer, you spend 3 months. For a soldier, you spend, I think, just around 5 months, and for a police officer, you spend just under 4 months. And they call it, they refer to it as weeks. No, which means that some training that somebody would need is lacking. So you send out regular youth with a gun. How can he fight crime properly if he wasn't trained? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now you have these same youth, because I was told by somebody that I should not look at a gunman as just a regular gunman, because these men have the opportunity to go to range. These men have the opportunity to know how to properly fire a gun, and they have to go through what you call a vetting process. I didn't even know that gunmen go through vetting process. Do you follow what I'm saying? So is
a army on the road?
It looks so. So no, if that is the case, why can't we do the same for our state assets? Instead, we are take it from them. We are take the training from them, and then we are going to phrase it as spending too much money. Listen. Don't get me started.
But the thing about it is, as our discussion got started and all of that, we already established that everything is connected, right? Nothing happens in isolation. So the whole crime situation is not organized by incident, right? It is intentionally that way, right? It is structured to be that way. It is structured to be a way of life, right? For those who choose it as their career, right? For those who choose to organize themselves in a way, right? That is on the, as you call it, the black market, right? Right? If you want to call it that. But the thing about it is, right? The bottom line is really the whole corruption, which is really what leads to the lack of programs, which lead to the lack of proper training, the lack of real services, right? These politicians are not there to serve, right? The only thing they're serving is their own interest. So we have to call things as it is. This is where the truth and reconciliation comes from, right? It comes from us calling things precisely as they are, right?
Well, can we therefore look at the Constitution in terms of political power and see what constitutional reform we can push for so that we can have some viable changes?
Right. Well, one we can push for is the right to recall politicians.
Yes.
We can push forward for that. We need to have the citizen must have that opportunity where someone is in office and then not doing the job. They subject to recall by the voters. That should be something. But
and it has to be a constitution to which really speak to serving the people. It has to be that, right? It can't be no constitution which totally disconnected from, you know, the people altogether, right? And what the whole matter of service is supposed to be about. Everything has to be clearly defined, right? And it has to be done in a way that it involves everybody, right? Not
Yes,
catering,
maybe
not
Patrick,
catering to one class or something like that.
well, maybe Patrick, we can have an entire program on that, because there's now a ministry of constitutional reform that exists. We haven't yet heard what that ministry will do, but certainly it is a instrument we can use to achieve reform in terms of our political organizations and how the country is run.
I have no faith in that ministry now. As far as I
have no faith.
No, I have no faith, because what is clear is that they set up this ministry to find a way to come with some draconian laws and that will suppress the voice of the Jamaican people. All they want to do is just criminalize the young people. They just criminalize. If you're familiar with that woman work on the bench, you know, when she was a judge and all that, you know where she's gonna take this.
Who is that? Who is that?
Magoo or something. She's
Mrs. Malahoo Fort.
Yeah, Miss Fort. If you know when she was on the bench, oh man, listen, man.
Maybe you can shed some light on that for us the next time we meet.
What is clear?
Well, it would be good to know what is in the Constitution that sets the framework for how we operate now, and whether we want to change them, and what are the changes we want to make. Because I don't think any Jamaicans have, we throw around the term constitutional reform all the time, but we haven't really come up. What is it that we would like to see?
For years we've been doing that.
What would be like?
I remember I used to study the Constitution. When I was in school, right? I would go down to government printing office, buy me my Constitution, buy me, the laws and all that. I was asking Ishmael the other day if the government printing office still exists, because that's where I used to get my
It does. Well, I had occasion to tell some citizens from St. Anne in the Bauxite area, living in the Bauxite area, who were complaining about the water in their tanks being contaminated by the dust, their houses being overtaken with dust and dirt, and their health being affected. And I said to them, the new Charter of Rights in the Constitution makes environmental protection actionable in law. But and they are saying, really, yes, you can bring an action against the whoever is causing that damage to the environment and to your health. And there is no way you can lose. You can lose that case.
Yeah.
But it is not said because nobody wants to disturb the contractual obligations with the foreign countries that exist now, because bauxite contributes to our GDP. But the question is, who is benefiting from all of that? And can we find a substitute for not mining our bauxite? And that substitute is production of food. But the same Bauxite Institute is taking out the bauxite and putting back the dirt, and the farmers are complaining they can't grow anything on it.
Well, here's the thing,
it's a circle. We're going in a circle.
Here's the thing. And listen to just how funny this is. We could make better profit from selling food produced from the land than from mining bauxite.
Yes, Patrick.
That's the amazing thing about it. And it would be healthy for us to do that.
That's why I'm laughing, because we just keep going in a circle.
Yeah.
But again, I'm gonna say this, because we are coming near to the end. Where the leadership lack vision, the people perish. And that is what is in Jamaica. Because in the 70s we had people with vision.
Yes, we did.
Whether you agree or disagree.
Yeah, man, whatever you want to say about the 70s. There was
people with vision.
Yeah.
I remember.
And we never achieved everything we wanted to, but we achieved some things.
And not just that, but the present conflict in the PNP is pale in comparison to the conflict in the PNP during the 70s.
That's right.
Yeah, with Paul Burke. Remember Paul Burke went up against Michael Manley.
Well, every year that Michael ran for president, Paul ran.
Paul ran, yeah. And you had people within the YO and out of the YO saying Michael Manley's moving closer to the right, and next one.
Yeah. And guess what? Nobody did have off Paul.
Nobody had off Paul. Nobody, because it was part of the term.
We encourage competition.
Yes.
But look where we are now.
And it's a lack of vision.
Yeah.
It's a lack of vision.
And it's the way you do things.
Yes, the way you do things.
And there must the party rises and stands above every individual.
Well,
that has fallen away.
That's the key to it. The breakdown of the infrastructure. Yeah.
That's right.
I would say the breakdown of the infrastructure. I say the breakdown in the political education process within the people.
That's the infrastructure. That's part of the infrastructure.
Because that was a regular feature of the People's National Party.
Oh yeah, man. People would stand in meeting and argue with Michael. Argue to prove them point, and Michael would go away and think about it and come back and say, yeah, him agree, or no, him don't agree. But nobody was prevented.
Nobody was prevented. And in addition to that, you had newspaper like the Public Opinion. You don't have that independent voice anymore in the journal.
You had Peter Abrams.
Peter Abrams.
And even if you never like Butty Perkins, him did have him value.
Of course, just like John Earn.
John Earn. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But this generation, I don't know. It's like with the advent of the technology, you find the attention span decrease. Nobody's into reading anymore and what have you. It's just
as you talk about Butty Perkins and all that. What happened to this woman? What's her name again?
Gludan.
Yeah, Barbara Gludan.
She retired.
Okay.
I thought you were going to.
But when we look at what is happening now, we are in danger of losing those things that we have created in the past and which are a product of Jamaica. We are in danger of our athletic prowess, losing that.
You think so?
Believe it or yeah, man. Believe it or not.
Of course. I guess
we are in danger of losing our music.
No, man. No. I ain't going to agree with that. No.
Yes.
You know why I'm not going to agree with that?
Why?
People like Robbie Shakespeare, all the musicians, Jamaican musicians, people who made the music today, most of them cannot read music. They play from feel. There's a certain feeling that they get. And these people in America, they can't develop that feel.
No, I don't mean that our music will go away now. I mean it will be taken by others.
And
they will be the beneficiaries of what we have created.
I see people in America doing stuff and what have you, but honestly, I tell you this as one who is involved.
You must go to Japan.
Well, that's a different story. Because there's a case.
I'm reminded of that article you sent me, Michael.
Yeah, there's a case coming up around that, which you might be of interest. Remember the slanting rhythm?
Yes.
Japanese are now claiming that rhythm.
There you go.
Because they say it came from their machine, But with all of that, I don't think that they can take that feel. They can get that feel. There's a certain feeling about reggae music and the vibes. When you stand up and look at a man like Robbie Shakespeare play the bass, and you see him, because it's something totally different. But that's for another discussion. I just want to say, man, it is clear that we face a number of crises.
Yes, we do.
Jamaican people face a number of crises. How we get out of it, I'm not sure, but one thing is clear. We have to keep the dialogue going. We have to
Michael, it has to be leadership with vision. You and I cannot reform the police force.
No.
You and I cannot reform the educational system.
No.
What we can, that's why I said, how do we get there? We have to have some solutions.
Well,
and can we start in a small community like Waterhouse?
Yes, we can.
To change some things together as all the people in the diaspora who have family in there. Can we come together? Can they come together with help from outside to make a difference? Because these are the people that send money to Jamaica. But guess what the money doing now, Michael? It buy hair and nails and food. Hair and nails and fast food. It's not going for education of kids.
Well,
it's the truth.
Yeah.
That's true. And on that note, my comrade reached out to you about the beautification in Waterhouse. Right? So we're going to discuss that at some point.
Okay, great.
Because the folks in Waterhouse, they are very interested about this beautification thing, So we want, it's going to start with small steps. Small steps, Valerie.
Yes, can start.
Valerie, I wanna say this before we close out, right? That I really do appreciate your contribution to the discussion, and I'm looking forward to us really discussing more on that whole constitutional thing with your guidance, right? So definitely we can put some thought into it and look at how we can start to really move on this thing, even from the Waterhouse development and all of that, because I have some strong feelings about that as well.
Yes.
All right.
So on that note, babe, Valerie, I want to thank you again for the contribution, and I'm supporting Patrick thing. Have a discussion around the constitutional reform, because you're the best person to lead it. Because you're in the
it's very important.
Yeah.
So what I'll do, I'll find a little time and kind of do a little paper on the areas of the Constitution that we can look at.
Yes.
We can reform.
Right.
Right. And throw our ideas around what would be the best,
Yeah.
What do we want to achieve by changing certain things?
Let me confess to you. Now is when I miss my good comrade, Antoinette Orton.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. Yes.
Definitely.
That spirit.
I know a friend of yours very well too, Mike Tomlinson. You know him?
I know that name.
Yes.
I know that name.
You don't know